What is up, bros? Me, Josh here. In today's video, we're going to go over the Tier 6 Royal Navy Battleship, the Queen Elizabeth. Now, this is a ship that looks very similar to another ship in the World of Warships called the Warspite, and it's because they're actually the same class. They're almost identical. Actually, the Queen Elizabeth is kind of the pre-buffed Warspite, so she has slower turrets and a couple other things. But actually, this is the ship I'm actually really enjoying, and I'm actually going to keep in this line. And the reason why is because she hits really hard. She has those Warspite guns this tier that are pretty large caliber. They're some of the biggest for this tier. And I really enjoyed this ship. Now, if you guys have been watching any of the videos about this line or have played this line, you know this line is known for its HE. And this, in my opinion, is probably the last real ship. Now, I know the Monarch at tier 8, it's a little bit of an AP quote-unquote ship. I think this is really the last battleship of this line, because once you get to the tier 7, all of the AP is still good. You really start embracing that HE trollness of this line, break into the tier, the Monarch, even at tier 8, although the AP is very solid. You can still rock a lot of HE and be very successful. And then getting into the Lion and then the Conqueror, of course, at tier 9 and 10, are just these HE troll ships of high tiers. They're basically large cruisers. So, in my opinion, I really think the Queen Elizabeth is kind of the last battleship, true battleship of this line. I really stuck with the AP on this ship. I didn't embrace the HE life too much with this ship, and I actually had a lot of success. This thing hits really hard. Of course, if you've ever played mid-tiers in World of Warships, battleships are very strong. I think tier 6 is probably the best tier for battleships in all of World of Warships. There's so many good choices. They're all good, and they're all fun to play. I had a blast with this ship, and really enjoyed this. So if you guys haven't played the Queen Elizabeth, I think this is definitely a keeper. I'm going to keep it in my port. Some of the lower tiers are kind of meh, kind of trolly fun. But this one, I think, even if you don't have the Warspite, you'll get the Warspite feel out of this ship. So this is definitely, if you were maybe thinking of getting the Warspite, it's still a good ship for training a captain, but the Queen Elizabeth will give you the same kind of feel of playstyle. Now, jumping into kind of her stats really quick, hit points, very competitive at 55k. And the interesting part about this is its kind of armor layout. As you can see, torpedo balls and all that kind of stuff is kind of weak, and this is like really the first kind of line. I think she is one that's a little bit different, but this is the first line of the underwater citadels. And as you get into the higher tier in this line, it's really actually pretty difficult to citadel these ships. So they get a little, now they do take some pretty high alpha damage. You can take some pretty monster hits in this ship, but I didn't really see myself getting citadel too much in this ship. You just take pretty high alpha damage, so something to keep in mind. Also, the repair party is a little different than the Warspite. The Warspite has a kind of a custom cruiser one, which is a very small window. This one has the normal battleship window, so it is kind of nice that way. Torpedo protection is one of the lowest for this tier. It's not the lowest, but torpedoes did actually hurt a lot. So just something to keep in mind. Be very aware. Destroyers, of course, always, but you don't get quite the protection of, let's say, like a New Mexico, which is going to have twice of torpedo protection, almost twice the torpedo protection as the Queen Elizabeth. For the main batteries, now these guns hit really hard, and I was enjoying just blasting cruisers. We'll get into a little bit of game. We'll get into some gameplay in a little bit where we just absolutely blapped everything and just made quick work of an enemy team. And this ship can actually do that. Felt it to be relatively accurate, and the only thing, it was a little lofty on its shells, in my opinion. So that took a little while to get used to, especially bouncing back and forth between a lot of ships. But still, the AP is what I went with. The HE, of course, has a crazy high fire rate, or a crazy high fire chance, and even still really good alpha damage. And you can still, like, citadel some cruisers with HE, so that's what a lot of people are running this. I had really good success with AP, so embrace AP with this ship. It hits hard, it hits often, but definitely worth giving it a try. The secondaries were actually pretty solid. Now, this is without an AFT captain, so you'll get about 5k and some change. With an AFT captain. So for this tier, the secondaries are actually pretty freaking solid. And main battery at 17.1 is pretty competitive at this tier. You're not the farthest, let's say like the Fuso, but you do get a chance to actually hit a lot of things pretty freaking often. And I actually even saw this ship even up tiering pretty solidly against a lot of other ships. So 17.1, plenty to do damage even if you're getting up tier to tier 8. So one of the highlights of this ship, and I do run the AA mod, which I'll get into in a second, so just to keep that in mind on some of these ranges, but the AA is actually really good on this ship. I was just absolutely shredding planes, and especially when they get kind of close, you just shred them. So the AA on this ship is one of the highest. I think the Baron can technically get higher than the ship. Now this is without an AFT, so maybe the Queen Elizabeth might actually be the highest AA ship at this tier. But the AA absolutely, well, battleship of course, absolutely shred planes. It was a monster. I was getting, I mean, even when I was going against, let's say, like a Saipan or something like that, we were still knocking planes out of the sky. And those are tier 9 planes. So, the AA on this ship is an absolute monster. You can actually get it out to 7.2 with AFT. So you're going to be knocking planes out, and it can be really, really good. I was hoping that it would actually send planes my way, because the rotor shift is okay. And so even though it does hurt to take some torps from a CV, you can just absolutely plink them out, especially if you're going against, let's say, like a tier 5 or even a Ryujo with its lower tier planes. Get those planes out of the sky and you can shoot a bunch down. There was several games where I was getting 10, 15 plane kills just from them trying to drop on me. So this thing is an absolute beast, especially if you're going away and they have to auto drop, let's say at the tier 4 or tier 5, or the tier 5 airplanes. But yeah, the AA on the ship, absolutely nutty. This is just basically with the AA module and, of course, the upgraded hull. But dropping AFT, and if you want to be crazy and go BFT or something like that, you're going to be basically a no-fly zone for a lot of the lower tier planes. So this thing, AA beast. Maneuverability is pretty solid, 24.7 knots. It's a tier 6 battleship. You're kind of right before battleships start to get relatively quick, other than the Colorado at tier 7. So you're not expected to go fast. This thing doesn't go super fast, but it's still all right. With a decent little rotor shift, with a pretty big turning circle radius. So just be very, very careful, of course, where those torps are, because you just have a lack of protection anyway. And the detectability by air. Now this is without a concealment captain, so keep that in mind. 14 kilometers. You're pretty stealthy. You're not one of the stealthy. You're not the stealthiest ships, but you are definitely up there for getting relatively sneaky. I think for this ship, if I would have had a higher level captain, and I can show you the captain I run in just a second. He's on my King George right now, the tier 7. I would run a concealment captain slash build in the future, because you play these things a little bit different and higher tiers than you would this one. But you're going to get the detection pretty low, down to 12 point something, which will put you very, very competitive against a lot of other battleships. So that's the quick stats, just jumping over them really quick. One thing to keep in mind is the turrets are freaking slow. This is old school Warspite. This is pre-buff. Now if you go to the Warspite, that has been buffed recently a little while ago, so 54.5 seconds on the turret traverse, and the Queen Elizabeth has 72. I think that's current Yamato right now, so some of the slowest turrets in the game. So just be very aware. Use free look. Don't be looking everywhere, because your turrets will be out of position. One thing I also noticed with this ship is you absolutely dunk on destroyers. I don't know what it is, if it's like the caliber or this ship just has good juju for me or what. I was dunking on destroyers with this ship, so freaking awesome. So for my modules, running auxiliary armament, I just want to keep the AA and keep the secondaries. That's the reason I ran this. I wasn't seeing myself getting knocked out too many times for main bat guns, so I didn't really run them. I did run this, the AA mod. I think it's just the best. You could get a little extra secondary range, I guess, but I think AA is monstrous. What you do with these ships, guys, is you find what its strength is and build off of it. So running an AA, 20% extra range is awesome. Like I said, with an AFT captain, 7.2 kilometers, you're plinking those planes down, easy peasy. Just grabbing damage control to help with a little bit less fire, since there's so many HE spammers out right now. If you've been playing battleships, you know what I'm talking about. And then the rudder shift to help out. So that's what those values are. So let me just jump over to my King George captain really quick, and I'll show you what captain I'm running and the kind of the build I had at that point in time. Now this is what I'm running right now. This is kind of an interesting builder now. I went with preventative maintenance for this because most of them are running spotter plane. So I didn't need an extra spotter plane. Usually if it's a battleship with a fighter plane, I will grab the catapult fighter. But for this is kind of the weird build I had for the Queen Elizabeth. And so what I'd end up doing is once I get to 18 points, I would then grab Concealment Expert. So this is what I grabbed, Preventive Maintenance. Went with a very, very normal, I think very effective survivability build with these two. High Alert. So the reload time on damage control, there's so many fires going out, you want to be able to repair as fast as possible, and grabbing basic survivability, the fires last a shorter amount of time. So with that, I think this is very, very basic right now. Priority targets, decent. I don't really burn up my battleships, but it's good on other ships. So if you want to know how many ships are firing on you, also once you get into higher tier ships, expert loader is actually going to be decent for this ship, because switching back and forth between HE and AP is going to be pretty nice. So expert loader is maybe something I'll go at with a 19-point captain, but I'm not going to grab it right away. And then just to help out with the turrets, they're pretty freaking slow, so expert marksmanship did help with the turret traverse. It's not needed. It was just something I had 2 extra points right there, and so I just grabbed it. Of course, adrenaline rush is, if you have 2 points in any ship, it's awesome. Just to grab it's so fucking worth. So if you can, just grab it in any build that you have 2 extra points. And then of course, the first 10 points I would honestly grab preventative maintenance, high alert, basic survivability, and then AFT. That would be the first 10 points. Build off of it. Build off your ship. You want it to survive as long as you can, and AFT, grab that. Then, honestly, extra marksmanship is probably something I'll spec out of in the future. So once I get maybe 1 more point, so I would have 4 without this. Grabbing AFT, grabbing adrenaline rush. It's really, really nice to have literally on any ship. So this is the captain build. So let's jump over to some quick gameplay, and I'll show you guys how I played it and how just effective this ship can be using actually AP ammo. So numbers are one thing, and stats and all that kind of stuff, and looking at the ship import is one thing, but I always like to go out and actually see how the ship plays itself, and I'm sure you guys do as well. And with this ship, like I said, I stuck almost mainly the entire time I played this. My stats are pretty solid in this ship. I really, really enjoyed this ship and got through the tier 6 quote-unquote grind very quickly. With this ship because of how well it performed for me, and I really stuck with AP almost the entire way. A lot of people are embracing the full-blown HE troll of this ship, but for me, I stuck with AP, and we made freaking quick work of this. Right now, at least on North American server, tier 6 matchmaking has been very, very solid, and the majority of the games I was either one of the top tiers or like honestly, at tier 6, the matchmaking I had for this was really, really good, and even the games where I was bottom tier, I did very, very, very well. But the Nuremberg right here, I mean, this thing for me just sniped out citadels. I don't know how. If I was shooting at a cruiser, even a Nuremberg, which I have found in a lot of the past, it'd be very hard to consistently a citadel. Because of kind of the spaced armor, the weird armor that the Nuremberg has, and the other German cruisers. So I found that to be kind of annoying to Citadel, and this one for me just freaking sniped it. There you go, Brav, bingo, another Citadel. So already up to 30k damage. Making just freaking quick work of this, and with the insane Royal Navy heals, you can repair a ton of damage. I think potentially the high tier ships might get nerfed a little bit because of how good the repair is, but for right now, just roll with it. So I'm not going to repair one fire just because how many cruisers are there. And really, going against the Warspite, I mean, going against a Warspite, if you're in a battleship, see, that's when you get kind of robbed. See, an HE salvo would have been pretty nice there. But I couldn't pass up the broadside, so we got a little robbed there. So for the good karma we had and the good RNG we had with the cruisers, we had bad karma, or bad RNG with the battleship. So no big deal. And guys, if you have one fire, let it burn out. It's no thing. Look at, I can almost repair almost back to full health. So there's a second shot in on the Warspite, and that one was a little bit better at almost 11k. So see right here, Cleveland's doing a ton of work, but we're gonna be able to knock down a couple extra planes because of our AA. It's actually pretty decent. These are Zuio planes, and so we were able to get one. I think we had a second one here. I'm not exactly sure. I don't exactly remember, but the ability for this thing to just knock out planes out of the sky. I know they're right at the max of my range, but anyways, we were able to knock out just a couple. So I think we take out the Kurov right here. And for me, I thought the ship was really, really accurate. I know a lot of people have been kind of raging, even when in stream, asking how was Dispersion for me. Have you had trouble? What have you thought? For me, I had pretty freaking solid Dispersion with this ship on a consistent basis. I thought the Dispersion was good. You're gonna see right here kind of how good the Dispersion is. And now you do get the kind of the random. I mean, I'll take that Dispersion all day long. All day long, I'll take that Dispersion. and down goes the Nuremberg. But there was other salvos that, yeah, they're going to be kind of all over the place. I don't like that I'm going this way now that I'm rewatching this, but we're kind of getting out of position. But the turrets are so slow on this ship that you kind of have to commit to a side and kind of stick with it. If you're going to bounce back and forth consistently, of like left and right, your turrets are just so slow. It takes almost a minute, almost an entire minute to get them back around. So uh, just kind of stick with it. So I guess going around the right side of this island isn't the worst. And Alba, I think this Alba is going to be next on our side. But like I said, 4 citadels already, 2 kills, 70,000 damage. They haven't even killed the ship yet. I don't even know if they've even really damaged the ship besides, really, I think our buddy that's in our division. Other than that, though, we just took out another destroyer, and I'm waiting for this Alba to commit. With a battleship, though, remember, guys, they kind of always keep firing. But now, of course, we waited, and it's going to be worth it right here. But to always... Ooh, we got robbed there a little bit on that cell. Well, it probably should have been a citadel. But, I mean, we're coming up on, what, 6 minutes right now? And we're just absolutely drilling these. And if you can, guys, always help out your teammates, especially destroyers and other stuff, and shoot down as many spotter planes like that as you can. Just a little tip right there. Just kind of focus on that and shoot down those extra little ones. Those planes kind of sit there now. So that Alba I knew was pretty stuck and couldn't really do too much. He would have had to make that turn. Ooh! There you go. Oh, okay. There. We'll just pretend like that was gonna do no damage. But here's some of the AA this ship has, and then we end up taking a torp from it, but still, the close range AA on this is pretty freaking solid. So instantly vaporize those 2 planes, and we're gonna start chunking these ones down as well. He's gonna get the drop off, but it seemed like the really close range AA was absolutely awesome. Now we are going to take 1 torp here, but we're basically gonna finish the game right here as well. Down goes the Alba, 3 kills. Just like that, guys. The Queen Elizabeth's a fun ship. Hope you guys enjoy this. Remember, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.